Well, good morning, campers, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Camp Cryptid. I'm your host, Erica Fett, and I'd like to thank everyone so much for hanging out for the last episode all about ghost ships like the Queen Mary, the Mary Celeste, the Orang Medan, and the legendary Flying Dutchman. I even had a few of you write in about your paranormal experiences on the Queen Mary, so it's definitely a ghost ship, and I definitely need to go do some more investigating for myself. But today, I wanted to continue with the ghost ship goodness and dive into a few more tales of terror to add to that list of bizarre. You know, when it comes to tales of ghost ships, a lot of these stories continue to be mysteries years and even centuries after the incidents happened. Between theories of pirates, mutiny, freak weather occurrences, murder, and the supernatural, these tales continue to mystify us still to this day. This first tale that I'm going to get into is about the MV Joyita. Now, I kicked off the last episode about ghost ships with the tale of the Mary Celeste, and the mystery of the MV Joyita is actually pretty similar, but it goes something like this. The MV Joyita was about 70 feet long and was originally built in the 1930s as a large luxury yacht. It was a gift from movie star Douglas Fairbanks Sr. to his wife Mary Pickford. Now, some sources say it was a Hollywood movie director. I'm just going to go with some newspapers from the 50s on this. But either way, the MV Joyita was converted from a luxury yacht to a charter fishing boat years later for more practical use. Now, in 1955, the MV Joyita set out from the West Samoas to the Tokelau region with about 25 people on board, including Captain Miller, a courageous captain who had been out to sea since the age of 14 and was a captain also during World War II. The trip to Tokelau was only supposed to take about 2 days total. However, she never arrived to her destination. A search and rescue operation was made, but they never found the Joyita or any trace of her crew. 38 days later, she was found over 600 miles off course, drifting towards the Fiji Islands. The Joyita was partially submerged and listing to one side, but still seaworthy after they pumped the water out from the hull. There was no crew on board, and the lifeboats were all missing. The logbook, the sextant, and some other navigational equipment was also missing from the Joyita. Food, supplies, and rations were still mostly intact on the Joyita, but some cargo was missing. Now, another strange thing is that there were blood-stained bandages that were found on board, and the ship's radio was tuned into the distress signal frequency. The clocks on board were all stopped at 10:25, leaving some to speculate engine failure occurred. Now, planes searched 135,000 square miles of the surrounding ocean for survivors, but there was no trace of anyone to be seen. So what started out as a simple 2-day trip for the MV Joyita ended as one of the most enduring mysteries of the sea. The crew and passengers of the MV Joyita were never found and never showed up to tell the truth of what really happened, which leaves a lot of speculation as to what caused this incident and what led to the Joyita being abandoned to drift aimlessly in the ocean as a ghost ship. Now, when it comes to what could have caused this, there are many ideas and speculations, everything from pirates to mutiny to foreign military involvement to another ship colliding with the Joyita. But some just believe that the Joyita was a victim of harsh, erratic weather or a natural disaster like a waterspout. Either way, with the crew and passengers lost with time, much like this event, we may truly never have answers to what actually happened aboard the MV Joyita. Now, this next story is about the HMS Terror and the HMS Erebus. The HMS Terror was originally built as a military warship, built to withstand bombing and heavy fire. And even though this was a warship, she was absolutely stunning. So when explorers decided to brave the world of North Arctic exploration and navigation, they thought the HMS Terror would be a perfect fit for this task, and this became known as the Franklin Expedition. So in 1845, the Terror and its sister ship, the Erebus, set sail. With over 120 crew on the ships, plenty of supplies and rations, and what were thought to be two of the most technologically advanced ships of the time, the ship set sail from England towards the west. They were hoping to find the fabled Northwest Passage, a spot that connected the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, a sea route that hadn't been discovered yet, but little stories of it existing made it hard to pass up the opportunity to prove it real. Now, a few months into this journey, 2 whaling ships spotted the Terror and Erebus around the coast of Greenland, but that was the last time that these ships and their crews were ever seen again on the open seas. These two ships vanishing led to one of the longest searches in history for the true answers of what really happened to the Terror and the Erebus. There were clues left around multiple islands like graves, written notes, and stories from locals that left little breadcrumbs of the true fate of these two ships. Now, it wasn't until about 10 years ago that their true fate was revealed, when the Terror and the Erebus were both found under icy waters off the coast of King William Island around Terror Bay. The good thing is that both of these ships were extremely preserved due to the frigid waters. The bad thing is that locals told stories about how the crews died of harsh weather, illness, and even worse, they fell victim to cannibalism. Also good news is that there are models of these ships that you can buy and assemble if you're into doing that. Bad news is that my bank account can't take on another expensive hobby on top of Warhammer. So I did say that these ships are beautiful. So if you are into model building, definitely check out these because they're beautiful. Now, also, there are some really neat videos of crews diving down and taking footage of these ships' wreckage. It's crazy because there's dishes, jugs, furniture, all completely preserved, even after over 160 years. I'll make sure to link some of these videos of these expeditions to the HMS Terror and the Erebus in the Camp Cryptid Reddit, so make sure to check those out if you are into that type of thing. Now, the bell of the Erebus is actually on display in the Royal Ontario Museum, so if you're up that way and want to check it out, definitely do that. Either way, these two ships, the Terror and the Erebus, lay preserved in their icy graves, a time capsule to the past and a reminder for how truly dangerous and unforgiving the seas can be. Now, this next tale, the tale of the Carroll A Deering, is actually one that takes place off the shore of the Outer Banks in North Carolina. And this area has seen its fair share of shipwrecks over the centuries. The entire east coast of the U.S. was rife with pirate activity at one time, a fact that I didn't even realize until I went to go research for my Pirates and Witches of Salem episode. You kind of get distracted with all the witchcraft trials and forget to even think about the pirates that just looted and sailed the east coast for decades. But anyways, the Carroll A Deering was found wrecked ashore in 1921. As people investigated the wreck, no crew was found aboard, no lifeboats were found, and it looked as though the crew was getting ready for a meal and just up and left the ship in a hurry. There were no signs of the crew and those on board, and despite extensive searches for them, no one was ever found. Despite a lightkeeper seeing the Carroll A Deering within a day of it wrecking ashore, the fact that none of the crew was ever found or heard from again led many to believe that there were supernatural forces at work. The other note about this incident is that the captain of the Carroll A Deering believed that they lost their anchors. So while it is spooky to hypothesize of supernatural occurrences, this may have been as simple as equipment malfunctions. However, we may never really truly know the truth. It is strange that despite just being off the coast and perhaps equipped with lifeboats, that none of the crew made it to mainland. There are other theories of piracy, sabotage, and mutiny. But with this wreck being destroyed later that year to avoid more hazards of boats colliding with it, we truly may never know what happened aboard the Carroll A Deering. Now, there is a story with the USS Cyclops, and I talked about this one during the Bermuda Triangle episode. So make sure to go check out that episode for a bigger dive into more ship and planes that disappeared around the Bermuda Triangle. But a quick little recap of the USS Cyclops was essentially, it was a gigantic, over 540 feet long transport ship that just disappeared in the Atlantic. Also suspiciously around the Bermuda Triangle. Now, it was carrying a heavier load than normal, but when it last docked, everything seemed to be normal, and then poof, she just disappeared and no debris and no crew was ever found. Now, much like the Flying Dutchman of the last episode, there are so many good legends of ghost ships around the sea. And while some of these stories, have newspaper evidence, have stories written about them, or even testimonies of people on board, some stories just don't have any type of factual evidence. And the story of the Octavius is one of those. So the story of the Octavius is a little bit of a legend of the seas. There's no real concrete evidence that this is actually factual, and it's more of a tale that's been passed down over the centuries, much like the Flying Dutchman. But the story is that the Octavius was on a trade route from England to China, And after dropping off goods in China, the captain of the Octavius decided to save some time trying to go back home through the Northwest Passage, rather than around the longer route past the Cape of Good Hope. However, the Northwest Passage is no joke. We talked about it earlier in the episode with the HMS Terror and the Erebus, and the Octavius also found that out the hard way. The Octavius wasn't seen again until 14 years later, when the whaling ship, the Herald, spotted it drifting aimlessly off the coast of Greenland. Now, when the crew of the Herald boarded and investigated the Octavius, what they found was shocking. All of the crew was frozen solid. Even the captain frozen in place with his pen in his hand about to write a logbook entry. The chill of the Arctic had taken every person in the crew to their final frozen resting places. The Herald wasn't able to tow the Octavius back to the mainland, so the Octavius remained a frozen ghost ship left to wander the seas. Now, I mentioned the last Ghost Ship episode about the X-Files, and literally right after the episode, and I remembered the episode about a crew of a military ship that aged rapidly while they were out to sea. The episode was called Dodcom, and it is the second season of the 19th episode, and it reminded me a lot of what happened aboard the Orang Medan. So if you didn't listen to the last episode about ghost ships, the Orang Medan is basically one where they received a distress call. And when a ship close to the area came and investigated what happened aboard the Orang Medan, they found people frozen in place, dead, and they were decomposing rapidly. So that just kind of triggered my memory for the X-Files, and I wanted to drop that little tidbit. And now also, while we're on the topic of the X-Files, and it's a little related to ships and the open seas, and my absolute favorite episode of the X-Files is called Host, and actually has one of my favorite intros, and that ending of Host has basically haunted me in my entire life. That's also why I will not use porta potties. But with that being said, the intro to this episode is basically a mutated worm humanoid gets in the water tanks of a giant Russian warship in the ocean. What more do I need to say, right? So if you have not seen that and you're really enjoying these ghost ship episodes and you want some good spookiness out to sea, definitely check out that episode of the X-Files called The Host and .com, because those two episodes were really cool. And speaking of that .com episode, I believe that actually relates to the Philadelphia experiment, which that I will have to do an entire episode on, because that one is really weird. And if you are looking for a good deep dive for the rest of this week, go look into the Philadelphia experiment, because what's going on? So that's my little deep dive of more mysteries and ghost ship stories. We may truly never know what fate these ships and their crews met, whether the explanation is supernatural or weather-related, piracy, mutiny, cannibalism, or just as simple as equipment malfunctions. These mysteries will remain with the oceans. I also wanted to say, why has no researcher ever just come up with the idea that giant squids are to blame, right? I'm kidding, but kind of not really. After researching the Kraken and giant squid and how people, even in World War II and the USS Stein was attacked by a giant squid, at least one of these, right? At least one of these may have been affected. But okay, that's just me being a weirdo. Okay, I want one of these to be giant squid. Well, actually not really, because I feel bad, but you know. Now, other than researching these really cool mysteries of the ocean, I did get a chance to finally watch Maxine. I was a big fan of Pearl and X, and so watching Maxine was a lot of fun. There were some really, really crazy parts that I was not prepared for, but overall, I thought it was a great follow-up to X, and I really enjoyed that little trilogy of movies. So yeah, I also really love the fact that they kind of pulled in some of the old horror sets from Hollywood, like Psycho and the whole Norman Bates home. I thought that was really fun. And I also watched The Deliverance on Netflix. I thought that the acting in that movie was superb. So it was based off of a true story of a house called the Demon House, actually. And I'm not quite sure when it happened. I think it was actually within probably the past 10 years that this has happened. So yeah, That was a great one. I really enjoyed that. So Maxine and The Deliverance, those are the ones I've watched recently. Now, other than that, I do want to say that I have been working on a new card game, a new TCG. It's all cryptid based and it's really, really fun. I've been working with an amazing group of people and it's kind of what's been taking up a lot of my time lately, right? And it's been really fun to apply my knowledge of cryptids all over the world and to kind of have fun building this world around it. So if you are into TCGs and you are looking for a fun new game to get into, keep a lookout for Cryptid Camp. It's going to be a lot of fun and it's got some of my favorite cryptids in it already. And it's a whole world that we've built, and I really just can't wait for you guys to see it. So keep an eye out. We are going to be doing a Kickstarter for it soon, so I'll make sure to post on my socials and stuff for you all. So if you are into that, and also another thing, when it comes to card games, right, the biggest thing that I told them when we were making this game is I was like, listen, when people go to explain any rules, whether it's magic or sorcery or any type of card game, my brain melts. So I was like, I really want this to be something that no matter the age and no matter the person, that anyone can pick up and play and have fun with. So that's kind of like the way we took it with this. So it will be a really fun game. And if I can pick it up, anyone can. So keep a lookout for Cryptid Camp. I can't wait for you guys all to see this magic and this magical world that we've been building. So yeah, other than that, my dog is doing really well. I have a lot of you asking about the updates on how he's doing. He is doing great. And I want to thank everyone so much for your support and pet pictures and encouragement. It means the world to me. So thank you all so much. Now, other than that, I did, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I did get some people reaching out about the Queen Mary. So if you are someone who's sailed the seas and you have any creepy experiences, or you know of any good ghost ship stories that I didn't touch on in these episodes, please write in and let me know. Y'all know by now, after kicking off this entire season of an episode all about the pirates and witches of Salem, I am on a nautical kick. After visiting Boston, visiting Salem, I literally am living to be out on the open seas. It has been really great to research these episodes. So, like I said, if you all have any good stories for me, please do write in. Go to campcryptidpod.com. There's a little contact section where you can write in any movie suggestions or any of your favorite stories of ghost ships. And I would really love to touch on this topic again, because I'm telling y'all, we got like 800 years of ghost ship happenings that I still have got to get through. And there's a lot of stories still. So I would love to touch back on this episode in the future. And with that also being said, if you have any paranormal experiences that aren't even about ghost ships, please let me know. I always love doing the Campfire Tales episodes where listeners write in with their experiences, whether it's cryptids, the paranormal, or just even movie suggestions or creepy happenings at places. I love to hear all about it, and it inspires me. I mean, someone wrote in about the Bell Witch Cave, and then it inspired me to do a whole episode on the Bell Witch. So y'all keep me inspired and you keep me going. So thank you. And last but not least, if you are liking what you're hearing, please leave me a review on Spotify or Apple. It makes my day to hear that you all enjoy this. Or, if you're hating it and you're like, God, just quit now. I want to hear it. And I just want to thank everyone so much for the encouragement and the love and support that I've gotten for all of these episodes, and your excitement keeps me going. So thank you. I hope you guys can hear in my voice that I actually really love researching these episodes. It kind of gives me life. So thank you. So thanks again for hanging out for another episode out on the seas. It's been a lot of fun exploring these mysteries with you and also talking about ghost ships. I hope you all are having a great week wherever you are. I hope the sunshine's hitting your face. I hope it's not too chilly out, because it is really chilly here in Ohio already, which I don't mind because it's like apple cider season, right? But yeah, thanks again for hanging out, you guys, for another episode. I hope wherever you are, you're having a beautiful day. And hey, until next time, take care.